Okay, everybody, welcome to the second edition or episode.
Or it might be the first, who knows?
We don't know. Something happened behind the scenes. We'll find out later. So, yes, this is James Silas, and I have my man Oris up in the building.
Yes.
So, I don't think we should just assume that this is the second because we'll put it out like that. Okay. Stories here, or the things we talk about here, never go stale. And that's because, yes, so the concept of this whole thing is like an extension or a spin-off from what we do on radio on Smooth FM. So every this Thursday, is our own. This is James and Oris.
The James and Oris show.
Oris show, yes. It's as simple as that. In fact, no name has come up so easily like that. I promise you people.
True.
So if you watch the first episode, yes, it is what it is. And today, what are we starting with?
I think we should start with the Naira Marley and Mohbad situation. Once again, we are where we are, I guess, almost every year, every 2 years. Where I'm a major
maybe every year, sir.
A major Nigerian artist having an issue with a major Nigerian.
With their label.
With their label, yes. Let's not say major label because it might not be a major label. But yeah, so once again, and this time, or rather, the participants, Naira Marley on the one hand, and the artist known as Mohbad on the other hand. I think this started weeks ago, where I think it was Mohbad who first came publicly to say that he was beaten up by boys sent by Naira Marley, who is his label boss. Now, for those of you who do not know Mohbad, I think his biggest song would be "Feel Good." I feel good. I can't sing, but you get what I mean anyway. For those who know the song, and I think he had an album. Was it an EP?
EP, I think.
An EP, okay. And he even, I think a few weeks ago, he had a video released. I can't remember the name of the song now. But
with who?
No, just him.
Okay.
It was a song about. I want to say it's a song about feeling good.
So we'll just put it out here.
But anyway, we'll put the maybe a clip from the video. But anyway, the fact matter is that yes, they had a deal, and somebody's not pleased with the deal, or somebody's no longer happy with his management or something. And so I think initially Mohbad actually had said that he wanted to change his manager, and the label had pushed back against that decision, and that's kind of what led to the initial violence that got to social media. Naira Marley showed up and said, you know what, that's not true, that nothing of that sort happened, and a few people were saying maybe just an internal thing. But now that apparently it seems to be heading towards the legal part, it looks like there was actually fire behind that smoke that we saw social media a while ago. So I think the issues are still the same. There is always money somewhere in these issues. There's money somewhere, so we are not quite sure how much is being disputed, but we know that the terms of Mohbad's initial contract, the man is no longer quite happy with. And I was saying on radio, at least, or off air, that I think one of the things I think labels need to do, even if apparently they would never do it, is try to renegotiate with their artists when their artist begins to get famous. Now, I'm not saying they shouldn't recoup. I think they should recoup what they need to recoup. But I think that there is something to be said for maybe a lower degree of greed. I think business and greed are kind of like entwined, you know. But I think that if you are signing somebody who is young and hungry and poor and doesn't know what he's doing, that's probably fine. I think advantage of him, probably fine. But once he begins to understand certain things, I think if you want to keep that artist or you want to keep everything going smoothly, you really need to think about renegotiating some of the terms. I think historically, what happens is that labels are insisting on the record deals that these people signed back when they knew nothing about the business, or they didn't have leverage. That's what I think. So it's not about knowing anything, it's about leverage. Even if you know everything, and at the time you're signing, your mother will kick out of her house unless you have 100,000 naira. You will save for 120,000 naira because you feel like, you know what, let me just do that, even if you feel like you could get more. But here's the thing, I think that once you begin to earn 3 million, label puts in 1 million to blow you up and everything, and then suddenly they've gotten their money back maybe like 5-10 times. I think at the time you'll earn 10 million on a 1 million naira investment, I think the label should say, you know what, can we rethink this? Or if you say, you know what, can we rethink this? Label should not be too insistent on saying that no, we are going to stick by what you signed initially. I think that's the basic thing. But I think James has a different idea about that.
No, I don't have a different idea.
Okay.
So, I mean, I'll just restructure the way you're putting it and say, yes, the labels should be open to renegotiation in terms of when the artist eventually comes up with it. Now, one of the things that I also see in this situation, I mean, when we're on air, we talked about, there was a reference to Wizkid and his deal with EME. Now, one thing is very clear, one thing is very sure, we should always establish the fact that we don't know the details of these agreements.
Detail of everything.
No, we don't. But what we try to do is, from the things we've seen on social media and the ideas, based on precedents of activities that happened in the past, all right? So, but I agree totally that labels should create room, especially when the artist has become bigger than what he used to be, has become nationally or maybe internationally known in terms of the kind of music or a certain song or whatever that they would have put out at a certain time. So, but that as well, I'll still say that, just like they say in law, that there's no ignorance. Ignorance of the law is not an excuse. I have to throw that in because no matter what it is and what you say, no matter how you try to play around it.
Okay.
Some people can be adamant to tell you that, look, whether you like it or not, this is what you've signed, and this is what it will be. But now, can they force you to continue thriving or continue acting out based on what you've signed? They cannot force you, drag you to the studio and say you must sing and all of those things. So it might get to a point where it might get to a point where they put like an injunction or one of those things where you cannot put out music until the expiration of your contract, and that will still bounce back to you and affect you in a bad way. So at the end of the day, I also feel like it's about negotiations, about how you table the conversation. I strongly believe that artists, content creators, producers, everybody should have a right to call back their contracts and renegotiate the contracts. And then you can't just call it with your mouth. It means that as you're beginning to grow, as you're beginning to get famous and everything, get yourself a lawyer who will come and have that conversation for you in future. Now, it's also important to sometimes look at, why are we having this conversation? Why are they having these issues at this point in time? Is it because of the way they were badly treated by a staff of the label? Is it by the way the label owner is treating them or talking to them or maybe whatever? Or is it about looking at the books? Okay, look at the contract that we have. It says that every 3 months you are going to give me a report of streams, finances, and blah blah blah, all of those things, right? Now, if the label has not been doing that, and you've checked, maybe I've been on this label for 2 years, 3 years, no single time have they given you a report. That's a strong, you can hold on to that really strong. But even when you're talking about it, you have to actually be professional regardless. But these things, sometimes I was saying,
you're right, because I think actually that's one of the things Mohbad said, that he had never actually received like a report on how well he's doing on streaming platforms.
So, and he has a right to that. So now, sometimes if you go to a judge, the judge can say, okay, if they give you the information that you need, will that make you carry on with this deal? And you can still say no. I also have the aspect that they don't respect me on this label. There's an allowance I'm supposed to be getting every month or every blah blah blah. They're not giving me. So Mohbad will have to table. With his lawyer, they have to, put everything or all their, the accusation or what I call accusation or all the points,
grievances.
Put it together and actually have this conversation, because no matter what it is, court cases will take a while. It will just take a while, and we can come to a point where they're asking you cannot put out music because you're still bound by that contract. So it can get really messy. So what we can always tell, or how we can move on from here, is advising younger ones that are coming up that, listen, these things, no matter how hungry you are, no matter how blind you can assume yourself to have been at the time, can get really messy. In the case of Wizkid became bigger than life. If I have to say, if I say that myself, he was bigger than himself. He became even bigger than the label. It was so big that he could afford to get an international lawyer. He could have gotten, like, he was just too good to be stopped. Yeah,
but remember that one didn't even. It's not like it even ended in the most pleasant of ways.
No, that's what I'm saying.
But that thing was a protracted thing, if I remember clearly.
That's
Very
what I'm saying.
protracted, long, extended
That he probably got himself
conversation.
he could have been able to afford the best lawyer at that point in time to say, look, they have to dig into this thing. Probably get an international lawyer that would have been able to fight it to any extent.
Yeah, but I think, what also happened is Banky also lets it go.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think if he didn't, I'll see the
communication.
Where it's still been there.
Yeah, communication. Absolutely.
Let it go too.
Communication, how it was discussed, how it was, how they talked about it. You made reference about skills at that time.
Yes, sir, okay.
Now, even before we go to skills isn't way too far. Bring it closer. Brimo and Chocolate City.
Is that closer? That's further.
Maybe I think it was after skills this situation.
No, I'm talking about skills. It was skills and baseline I'm talking about. I think it was baseline.
Yes, no, that's what I'm saying. It was earlier before skills and baseline was around
Brimo and Chocolate City is really
2017.
I know.
2017, 2016.
Brimo left Chocolate City. Brimo has had like 4 albums or 5 after.
Okay, maybe
so
I'm just saying, So, but I mean, that one was even messy. He had an injection. He had even had a cut injection until they are probably still talking about something. But that's even, by the way, these things can get really messy. Which is why we advise the younger ones to learn from these people, learn from these things. That these things will, I mean, even the best of your two Baba almost, I probably had the same situation with Ken's music. But we always say that we don't have the real details. We don't have the contract. We do not see the agreement, so we cannot really talk strongly for or against anybody.
Mohbad did put his own out show, and people could see certain things about it. Like apparently, he didn't get an advance fee.
Yes,
he didn't even. He never gets the evidence of his streams. Yeah, so I think Mohbad put his own out, kind of like what Kanye did when he was trying to force, I think, Universal or one of those big labels in the US to actually listen to him too, because he too put out his own contract. But that's what I'm saying, that I think generally speaking, labels are greedy entities. So the onus is on the
I would just say humans, because this thing there is
Olamide is human, isn't he? But seeing how he's managed is better.
Let's some humans.
But I say some humans true, but I feel like the idea behind record labels, and I think it's also embedded in the music industry itself. It's a very harsh,
and it tells a lot about what kind of structure you have as a label. Olamide probably focused on dealt with structure or structured his label from the get-go, which is why, because for a lot of his contracts we learned.
Right. No, I think more like I think he structures the deal according to the person. I heard, I never know if this is true, that what he normally does is he meets you if you guys are cool and whatever. Normally he says you can release an album under
his label,
the YBNL label. Afterwards, you can then decide if you want to go or if you want to stay.
Okay.
Now the thing is, most labels don't believe that within an album they are going to be able to recoup the amount of money they feel like they need to get back from this artist. So I think maybe Olamide's case is like, I put in a low amount of money and I use goodwill for the rest of it. So an Olamide, for instance, can probably get his artist played across all Lagos States radio stations without paying money. I mean, they say it's illegal, but the fact of the matter is that music labels pay a lot of money to radio stations to actually play their records. It's just unfortunately, but that's something that happens. So, but I feel like for Olamide, because he also was a big artist and people kind of like him, he might be able to do that. So where a label is going to spend, say, 10 million to put in your songs across a certain whatever, Olamide can probably do that for 2 million.
But can we point out the fact that there's this girl, what's her name, on Olamide's label that did not really...
Yeah, Temi of us. Yes, no, of course, of course, it's not like Olamide has recorded like success like entirely, just that, of course.
Well, mostly,
it just feels like
it might
have been up to 90%, because remember, he also signed this guy because of rap, this boy who was rapping on Instagram, and then that's where he found him. And
yes, well, I don't think that's contract actually feel. And I don't think
that. No, but I think they said Olamide signed him, but he was there for like maybe 2 or 3 years, and I don't know. But for a number of years where nothing really happened.
What's the other guy?
Then there was Victor, who was there at the same time as Lil Kesh.
Yes.
You get? But of course, he too is no longer under YBNL, and his career didn't really
fly.
Peak. He didn't really fly. So the point with Olamide is not that they
have Lighter. I think
Lighter too also got her, and that was like a bigger issue.
Fell out too,
yes, there was an issue with that because Lighter said something in public apparently Olamide didn't like. So it's not like Olamide has recorded successes entirely. The thing is just that his successes that he's recorded have been really
groundbreaking. Yes,
have been really, really, really big and across genres, apparently, and so that's why he feels that Olamide is possibly the most successful of these artists who has a record label going. Maybe him and maybe Davido, but even Davido too actually recorded a number of non-successes as well.
I mean, maybe into Don Jazzy,
maybe into same thing exactly. So everybody has recorded bad deals, but the fact is that we go with, if the success is outsized, it generally becomes the popular narrative. But when you dig into the weeds, you see that of course there have been a lot of signings that didn't quite pop. But again, the other thing is like, it's one thing for an artist not to pop, it's another thing for the artist to feel like he was hard done by the label. You understand? So again, you could say that Mohbad actually, even with this bad thing he's to complain about, actually popped a lot more than some of the people who failed on Olamide's label actually. You get?
So should we be worried for Zinoliski? Do you think we should be worried for Zinoliski, who has arguably done very, very well, way more than Mohbad, not trying to compare, and arguably
they say way more. Well, more I don't know, but way more.
Way more.
Feels too
Zinoliski, I think he has done way more. I'm not trying to compare, like I said.
But you are comparing. We must compare. It's not
we
the
must
bad thing
compare.
to
I mean,
compare. We must compare.
He has a lot of hit records. He's done very, very well for himself as well, even as young as he is. So, do you think we should be worried for him? I mean, he's probably younger than Mohbad. And,
I think it's likely
younger. Do you think we should be worried for him?
So the other thing too is there's, like I say record labels are by nature greedy entities. But I think of course artists also have certain level of entitlement. So let's face it, if Mohbad didn't feel some type of way about this stuff, the same contract that is at the bottom of these issues, we would not we would not have heard about it if he was fine with it. So again, the other thing is this, is that okay, if the label is saying we'll put in 10 million and within 3 years expect to get in 100 million, once we get to 100 million, then you can go, you can stay. That's it. You get. But say let's go with it. So that same deal is given to Mohbad, that same deal is given to Zinoliski.
Yes.
Zinoliski is able to generate this 100 million in his second year. And from then on, maybe he says let's renegotiate. Mohbad hasn't generated 50 million. And it's at that 50 million mark, he feels like, you know what, let us rediscuss this thing. So it's going to be that Mo will feel resentment. Zinoliski might feel like, you know what, it's not a problem. So that's what I'm trying to say. So it might not be the case that Zinoliski's contract is much different from this one.
Yes.
It just seems that as it is in the public now, he is satisfied.
Yes.
Whether that will change in the next year, the next whatever, nobody knows. But as it is now, the man looks like he's pretty satisfied with what he's getting from the label. So should we be scared? Maybe. But I think this thing is going to calm down because he's younger too. It might be that, you know what, he doesn't have so much expectations to lose expectations, and he feels like he still has time. So no matter how bad the contract is,
he'll be fine.
One way or the other, we'll be fine. So yeah, that's the other thing about. I think that's the other thing about coming into an industry really young. Because if I remember clearly, I know that in the US, NSYNC, the boy band that what's his name, I had Justin Timberlake in the past. They had a really, really big issue with, I think, either their manager or one of their managers, like a middleman between a label and them. Really big issue. In fact, today apparently Timberlake doesn't talk about that particular issue because I think the guy himself was either was convicted or was accused. Minus the shady money dealings he had of something like maybe it's not pedophilia but something close, maybe like molesting a kid or something.
Okay.
You get?
Yeah.
And so it's that issue is if you read about it, it's a very nasty issue actually. You get? But the guys at NSYNC don't really say much about it because I think my own perspective, I don't know, is that they were really young, and for someone like Timberlake who had a huge career ahead of him, it was not necessary to like go back and start making all of those noise about what happened in the past. I was 16 or 17, I was taking advantage of until I was 20. By the time I was 21, I blew and I was no longer under that kind of deal again. There's no need to start saying that this guy did me, whatever. I've moved past it. So I always think that sometimes people get there too, where they're like, you know what, I am young, it's a 3-year thing, it's a 5-year thing, and we'll still be 21, 22, then I still probably have a chance. So if the artists do never feel bad about certain things, some of these things we'll never hear about. The problem is that some of them feel like, you know what, no, I've been taken advantage of, and people must hear about what exactly happened.
Okay, so I mean, let's still on music this music, but let's go international. Kanye West. I mean, I don't think this Kanye West is like a series. What's it called? Like we are probably on episode 21 or something.
Episode 21 of a possibly 100 episodes.
Bro.
Because I don't know, man. Kanye's influence is too large that it's not possible to exhaust Kanye West. It's just not possible.
No, because
next week they'll another thing.
Yeah, he keeps coming up. There's something new just pops again. I mean, the last one that we saw was him calling out what's his name, Tarantino. What's his name?
Oh yes,
Django,
yes.
And Jimmy Fox.
I mean, they did call out. I don't know. I've seen that so funny.
So I think the media is feeding off of the Kanye situation.
Of course.
So they look for. They ask him. But you still see here. I don't think this guy asked him any question about the Django. This thing.
He didn't want to.
It just came from nowhere, and he just threw it. Boom. So what should we be worried about Kanye West?
Yes and no. Should we be worried? I say yes, because I think that the sheer amount of attacks he's under, I think should worry anybody. I think that, of course, publicly, he would, of course, not come and cry in anybody's face or anything. But I think that privately, it has to really bother him that he's in this situation, yes. I'm not saying that Kanye, and why I say no is because Kanye will be fine. I feel like, again, one of the things I respect him for is people argue, of course, people that hate him now, of course, or hate him before, they will always say that it's a lie, it's a lie, it's a lie. But the fact of the matter is that if you watch Kanye's interviews going back the past 10 years, it just feels like there's whatever happens to him now, he has made a comment about it sometime in the past. In the second interview, I think it's the second or the first interview, because Drink Champs, the one with the rapper Nori, he went there, he has gone there 3 times. One of the other second or first one, which I can't remember because I watched that back in the day, but I saw a clip recently where I was talking about how one time he might be, even if, of course, I think there was a case that he was supposed to be the richest black man in history or something in America or something at some point. But yeah, so anyway, and he was saying that he might be homeless and everything, but don't worry, give him a year to 4 years and he'll be back. You get, so maybe because of the things he's saying, he might become and it just feels like, what he said then, exactly what is happening now. But even for me, it's even beyond something like interview. It is that song, really, that song. I'm funny, I have a personal relationship with that song. That la, wait till I get my money right. You can't tell me nothing, that song.
That's from Graduation, I think.
Always registration.
Okay, I think
one of the two. I can't remember now. But yeah, but that song I think is the biographical Kanye West song. That song in particular, because it just feels like Kanye was always a person who will just say whatever he's thinking. That's the kind of person he is.
Yeah, he doesn't filter his thoughts.
He doesn't filter. He just says. Remember that thing where he said George Bush doesn't like black people?
Yes.
On TV live.
Boom.
They had a script. The guy just said what he was thinking.
Wow.
You get, so that's kind of person he is. Always has been. The thing is that with that song, I think what he was saying is that, just wait until I get my money right. And at that stage, you can't tell me anything.
Nothing, yeah.
You get, there's nothing you can say to me at that particular stage. And I think that that's the thing that people who have an issue with Kanye West's insistence on wealth don't understand. Is that money is a protection. If somebody is telling you that, your entire income is ₦1 million per month, and the only way you get $1 million is if you don't say anything bad about, maybe say, the government.
The government, yes.
You get, and that person is in the government and saying that, the fact of the matter is that, bros, you will never say anything bad about the government because you need that your $1 million, otherwise nothing for you.
True.
But if you can figure out a way that you get money from maybe an international government, maybe from the UN, cuts away the Nigerian government.
Yes.
Then you can now say, I will say
whatever
this thing is bad, you get. And that is something that Kanye West understood before where we are now. He knew this back then, and that's why he was, just wait. When I get my money, I can say whatever it is that at that stage you can no longer talk to me. You get. And I think that's kind of the space he is in. The problem now is that end of the day, Kanye is American.
Yes.
And Kanye is not just somebody who is amassing wealth, of course, although he's doing that a lot, but also he's also amassing influence. And again, the way influence works is that influence doesn't work independent of other people, especially in America, where the media, everywhere the media is huge, is big, and the people he has attacked or he has spoken about have said that you should not be speaking about us like this because of a historical thing we've been through.
Yes.
Because the fact of the matter is that American media, I said it on radio earlier, is a lot of it actually is controlled by Jews, by Jewish people. Two of the biggest, I think there are like 3 or 4 big newspapers. 2 of them are New York Times and the Washington Post and the New York Post. All 3 of them are controlled by Jewish people. Social media, the big ones that we all know, Instagram, Snapchat, Facebook, Twitter. 3 of them, Instagram, Snapchat, and Facebook, are all owned by Jewish people. YouTube, Google, they say your brain is Jewish, I believe. You get. So the fact of the matter is that there is certainly a huge amount of power that you have connecting you to the public that is controlled by people who are Jewish. And so if Kanye says something against them and they decide, you know what, no, we are not going to
I don't think he said something against them. He's just
okay.
highlighting the fact that they were owned by Jewish people.
No. 2 things happened here.
Yeah.
One of them was a poorly worded tweet where he said he's about to go DEFCON on Jewish people.
Yes.
Now, unfortunately, that because the word death is there, but actually the real word is deaf, DEF, DEFCON. That's it. But he said
must have been autocorrect or one of those stupid things.
He said he was sleepy. People have forgotten that part of the thing. So I think he just said, I saw 2 interviews where he said, you know what, he was sleepy. That's what if I were saying, does he regret anything? I think he was saying that he should not send sleepy tweets. So apparently he was sleepy and he was pissed about the business deals he's had that people have screwed him.
So man was trying to sleep. And
yes,
because
it's Kanye, the kind of person he is, I must say this thing, you get, and somehow in Shah saying that thing, it ended up like this. So there's that one. Then so when he now got the chance to like talk about, when of course they now blocked him everywhere and they're like, you know what, guy, you are being anti-Semitic, they now interviewed him. Now instead of saying that, you know what, I was sleepy and I made a mistake and I apologize.
Yes.
He's like,
what I said.
What I said, it hurt people, and sorry to them for that. However, what I said is not a lie. That's kind of the thing. So in doubling down on that, then he now expanded. The problem is that he expanded more on that. But the thing is, most people took the 2 minutes. That thing was absolutely like a 3 hour, 23 minutes conversation.
Yes.
People just took the 2 minute part where he talked about 2 things. Okay, 2 different clips. Yes. One of them was about the George Floyd death, which was ridiculous because he was saying that according to the Kanye Owen documentary, it was fentanyl that killed him and not the direction of his neck, knee on his neck. Yes. That was one. Then 2, the thing about like Jewish media and just refusing to say, you know what. So the thing is, I don't think Kanye really hates Jewish people. The problem is that people who have screwed him up in the past have been Jewish people. And so he's saying that, look at the amount of power these people have. I wish black people had that kind of power. But unfortunately, you can no longer talk about Jews without some kind of thing happening to you. The reason why I respect Kanye is that he's funny enough. Funny actually is that he has apologized like twice on 2 different whatever. But the problem is because the mainstream platforms are not giving him a chance, they can't hear the apologies. Yes. Because what has been expanded is what you said in the past now. 1, 2. The second thing is that a lot of the way he's saying the apology is not. I think they want him to grovel. Yes, he's not groveling. He's not kneeling down and saying it. He's saying that, you know what, you people should ask me. And this is the thing I feel like people who have interviewed him throughout have failed to do. The last interview I saw of him with a podcast with a guy called Lex Friedman, who is like an engineer kind of guy. He said something there that he was accusing his interviewer that everybody wants to drag him back to 2 weeks ago when he made the sleepy tweet that he had. But nobody's trying to ask him, how did Kanye West get to that position where he said something like that? What happened to him to have that? Nobody's even trying to ask that. And I think, for me, but again, I'm not Jewish, so I don't have the same kind of connection to what is happening. But for me, who is just like an independent, objective person thinking about it, although I admit I'm a big Kanye West fan, I can say that also bothers me. Because I want them to also ask him, okay, you said this thing, it's hurtful, it's hateful, and you said that you are sorry to people who were hurt by it. But can you tell us what exactly happened to you that made you even get to that point where you're saying something like this? What business deals actually happened? Talk about it. And this is where I feel like people in the black community who have some kind of clout, who probably still like Kanye, and maybe who have massive clout. Jay-Z, for instance, can put an end to all of this thing. If Jay-Z...
Yeah, by speaking up?
Not speaking up. Although that will certainly help. But I'm saying Jay-Z gets Kanye West, maybe gets another prominent Jewish person somewhere. maybe because of course it's Jay-Z and there's Kanye, they can get New York Times, they can get any of those really big platforms to talk about it.
Have a three-way talk?
Yes, talk, yes. And when they talk about it, they should mention one, the fact of, okay, Kanye, you said something about Jewish people that reflects on the Holocaust, and that phrasing doesn't make them happy. Let's talk about that, and let's hear your apology again.
And you really think?
Wait, no, and two, also, we know that you were offended by your music with these people, and you said that one of the things he said is that he has had like maybe about 50 different whatever, and each time he's been a Jewish person who was screwed him. Like part of his staff were Jewish, and it looks like they were all talking behind their back to screw him. Can we talk about that as well? And because it's Jay-Z, or because it's somebody who has some kind of heavy clout, all of these issues. So on the one hand, we get something that pacifies the Jewish people. On the other hand, we get a thing that pacifies Kanye West.
So you think that Kanye West
yes,
can be trusted even in that situation where there's a Jay-Z on the table,
yes,
not to go off? This is Kanye that's called out Jay-Z before on public platform.
So here's the thing. The thing is that behind the scenes, of course, we will explain what we're trying to do, because Kanye, this thing I said to you about what hurt him, nobody has asked him, and he has said it himself, that how come nobody's asking him that question. I mean, I feel like if you ask Kanye that question, you can get him to a place where he can be entirely cool with you. Of course, he's still going to say that, you know what, he feels he has been hard done by the Jewish media, but then he provides a context that everybody listens to because it's a lengthy thing. The problem we are having here is that people are not, if this was back in the day before social media, you would need to read the entire interview now to get everything. Nowadays, somebody just takes a 2-minute clip, it's gone viral. Everybody forgets, because that's interview is a 3-hour, 23-minute interview.
True.
All of what we're talking about is a 2-minute part of it that has become incredibly huge. Nobody's asking him, okay, guy, waiting do you? You say it's like in Nigeria, you say what people are trying to hurt you. Tell us waiting actually happen. You get? We'll get to the fact of and it's not all of them anyways. Maybe 3 or 4 people who did you that thing. We can talk about that, because let's also talk about why you felt like you were so hot enough to like say, you know what, all of you. Because one thing this guy said was that he wants Jewish kids who like his music to ask their parents that why is Kanye so angry with us. And it's a valid thing to want to. It's a valid thing to want. You get? But the problem is emotions have clouded everything. So anyway, Kanye is always going to snap up too many, what's it called, oxygen in the room. So let's leave Kanye first.
So I think we should move on to
Anikulapo.
Anikulapo. So I mean, how did we? We always talk about music and movies and other trending activities in the entertainment industry, especially. So Kunle Afolayan has released
a
soundtrack album, body of work, music work for
Anikulapo, his latest film on
Netflix. So, but I mean, we're not even going too much into that. We are concerned about the movie itself. So, and I think we talked about this on air as well, where we Oris had something to say about.
I had something to say this in the past. Now.
In fact, not just about Anikulapo. I want to take it that Oris has something to say about Kunle Afolayan.
No,
they're supposed to be friends. No.
Like I said, of course, I know Kunle, and I think he knows me too. Because we've been in several events together.
And Kunle is watching and says, "I don't know this guy from anywhere. I don't know you."
Kunle cannot deny me. There's an interview we had, I think 2016, in the Africa Report back in the day, when I was still a heavy reporter on the streets. A long interview with him in the Africa Report. Then, of course, also as a critic, I also written about his whatever. I think he's read some of them too in the past. Like I was saying, or like I always say, I think Kunle has 3 Kunle masterpieces, or 3 Kunle masterpieces, but maybe 3 of the best films I think Hollywood has made in this new generation. Maybe out of 50 or 100, I think Kunle should have at least 3 films there. And I think the first one, of course, is Figurine, which I think most people are agreed on. I also think Phone Swap. Some people don't like it, but I think it's excellent. Probably in my own view, sometimes I think of it as the best Kunle Afolayan film. Sometimes, and the third film is October 1, which of course was divisive at the time. But I think that you cannot argue with the amount of the vision, the scale of Kunle's vision for that particular film. But I feel like yes, that when he did the CEO, which I think came after October 1. It was at that stage I felt like we were in a timeline where Kunle was no longer too interested, I believe, in the expansive vision he had earlier, and was more insistent or trying to figure out, okay, what is the best way by which we could make the most money from our clout we've gotten from doing these 3 excellent films. So, which is not a bad thing. I define money, James define money, everybody define money last time, you know. But I just feel like when it comes to the arts, or when it comes to anything, you know, I don't think that as a country, I've written about this by the way a few weeks ago, I don't think that as a country, Nigeria, we care a lot about excellence. Unfortunately, I'm Nigerian, but I do care about excellence. Okay. So, and I care about excellence, especially with what I watch and what I listen to. That's why, of course, one of the things I do is criticism or like reviews. And so I felt like at that particular stage, Kunle was in a place where his focus was more on the money than on the arts. Now, I don't know what personal thing happened to get him to that particular position. If it might be valid, it might not be valid, I don't know. I just feel like what happens eventually is what we see eventually on the screen is what we should talk about. And from the CEO, it felt to me like Kunle was trying to penny pinch, let's put it that way. And the films are just not have been as good as what I had seen before from Kunle. And because even when he did October 1, there was a critic who I like, who wrote something about October 1, and I felt it was just unfair. It was just too harsh, because I was like, no, this is not even right. And I actually wrote a piece defending Kunle Afolayan for October 1, you know. But the fact about it is that I no longer feel like if anybody attacked Kunle today, I would, in all fairness, want to respond and say, you know what, this isn't really true. You know, this man is actually, you know, I wouldn't be in that position anymore, because I feel like there's just been a shift. And I think for anybody, if you ever get the chance to see Kunle's whatever, you can tell the exact moment where he felt like the way he was going about pursuing his stories, even in the writing of the stories, there was just a sharp decline. And Anikulapo, for me, is not the worst film he's done. I think of the really bad moments of Kunle's whatever as the 3 films he did for African Magic back in the day. Roti, which I think was the best of the 3, by the way. Omugo was the first one, and I think the third one was the one with Omotola in the court. Really, really bad. I can't remember the title. I don't know the title of that film. But anyway, those were the 3 films. I think those for me are like the time where I was like, I'm not quite sure what's happening here. But yeah, but Anikulapo is better than those films. But still, I do not think that it is the best film he could have made, even with the same story.
Okay, let's go into details.
All right.
Quickly, what are the key elements of that movie that you thought made it a bad movie to you?
It's not. I don't think it's bad. Okay. I just think that it is really I think it's mediocre. I think if you're going to grade it over 100, I might give it a 55, which is not
average.
Too bad, average. Actually. You know, it's not too bad. You know, but depending
what
on
are the key elements?
Depending on my mood, it might be 45 or 55. Between that side, 45 to 55 over 100. Anyway, but the key elements for me, I think the strongest thing I can say is the screenplay itself. I think so let me just say everything. Maybe I'll come talk about specifically. I think the screenplay isn't quite as tight as it could be. I think that historically Kunle has struggled with pacing his movies. Just like knowing which part should be fast, which one should be slow, and all that kind of stuff, lingering on the scene so much or stuff like that. So that's a thing. That's the second thing, the pacing. Third, some kind of what's it called? Sloppiness. I know you have an issue with this word, but sloppiness in certain details. The historicity of what he's doing, some of the costuming, especially the tribal marks.
Okay.
You know, and I feel like these are not big things. To be honest, I feel like if we are discussing scale, you can say, you know what, budget and everything. But the fact of the matter is that it's not scale. Talking about small things like, okay, how is it I'm watching this film and I can tell that none of these people actually has a tribal mark? It's just obvious. And it's not a stage play. You are watching a stage play, you are making all of these kind of adjustments in your own expectations. We are watching a movie and it's actually make-believe. You have all the tools you need to make things as, in quote, real as possible. In a time when we watch the behind the scenes of some of these Netflix shows, some of these HBO shows, some of these things we see even on the big screen from Hollywood or whatever, and you have that somebody sitting in a chair and they are doing makeup for like 4 or 5 hours. The person who shows up at the end of the stuff is really different from the person who sat into that chair at the beginning of that whole thing.
Yeah.
And in the world where we see that, then we see this. Now, this is not, to get the most realistic makeup, tribal marks, so to speak, you don't need to sit anywhere for 4 hours. It's not necessary.
I mean, put a good patch of.
I'm just saying, but you can do that thing well enough that it is not obvious right from the start that this thing is painted on. Yeah. Just like, you know, and I feel like just a little bit more time.
Put a good patch of foundation, and then
I'm sure there's a guy down the street that can probably do that thing. I'm just sure, you know. And I'm saying, so it starts in one way. By the end of the film, it looks a different way. Even the something is faded. And this is the thing that if you've ever seen Tribal Marks, you know that you met the person when the person was like 20. The person is 50 now. There is not a difference in the way the Tribal Marks is. There's no difference. We're having a film that's how many years between it, and it's fading out. I'm just like, but guy, now is this really necessary? Then there's all of these other smaller bits. Look at the scene where the king, was it the king or the king's mouthpiece, wanted to attack what was it called? Wanted to attack Saro for demanding his daughter. Was it money? Demanding his daughter. Yeah. And I'm just like, this is a purely watching that. I was like, this is what happens on a stage. His move to attack, and then he stopped. Who stopped you, please? The person is right there. Who stopped you? You stopped by yourself, and suddenly it's first like, okay, they told him. It's like, it feels to me like the direction of that scene was like, okay, everybody will be still when he made this thing. You attempt to stab him, and then you stop before you get to him, which is kind of the direction you receive if it is like something on a plane.
Even parents with their kids
on the primary room.
On the streets, like, I'll just was
no, if you say I just was and you stay where you are, it's different. We are moving towards the person and then you stop halfway. And it's a small room. Anyway, my point is all of these small things. I just feel like it's just ruining the entire believability of the world that this man has created. And like I said, I've seen people who have said that, you know, the story is originally from the Far Chronicles or something, and so you can't really mess with it. I'm like, that is actually not true. You know, if you're adapting something, the onus is on you to adjust that into the best way it can possibly for the particular medium you're doing it for.
True.
You get? After all, did they tell you that the bed that came in the Far Chronicles, if that's how it is, was in that format that we saw, that badly done computer generated image, the CGI? That was even that central scene where the bed came down and I guess this guy came alive. Even till nobody's going to explain to me why the god fell from the bed and why a spiritual bed can be hit by a physical stick held by an utterly mortal human, and how when the bed is going back, why did the god fall and why is it not attached to the? I'm just like all of these things. That is the central piece of the film.
The Bible.
Tell me, take me to the Bible.
Israel, Jacob fought with an angel. How about that? Had a physical fight with an angel.
You are aware that if someone is going to adapt that thing today, they will give you a context between why that is possible, right?
I mean, when you say context,
yes,
it's what I mean, as literal as it is that the Bible said. Because even when the angel, when they said he took out what's called dislocated his ankle, so it means it was something physical. Now, apart from that one, angels went to Lot's house or Abraham's house.
Yes.
In the Bible.
Did they go as angels, or did they go as embodiments? After all, Jesus himself is the Son of God, and yet wasn't he the physical going, and he was crucified.
Anyway, I had to throw that in because of
you had to throw that in because you are trying to
physically try to attack the bed, and because the bed came down as
for me it's really about the God. That whole God thing, I feel like it's not well explained. Why the God fell, and why the girl could pick it, and why when the bed was going back, he could not get back his God. Just like, no, now. I might expect to have read it if I Chronicles and then watch the film.
Exactly. Did you see, what's this guy's name? I think one of Bello's sons, that one, he was King of Thief or something.
Yes, King of Thieves. The Femi Bello film.
What do you think about it?
I saw that one in the cinemas, and I really like it. I think that's a better movie than Anikulapo.
Let's not compare. Okay, let's
leave it at that.
Yes.
But you tell me, you know, I have said why I don't like it. You tell me why you like it.
Also, I like it. So now, I think for me, I was carried away by the screenplay, so to speak, the story itself, the fact that the guy came into a village as a nobody. In fact, you see that part was when you're talking about the part that we need to understand or context.
Yes.
It was just out of the blues. Like there was no way I could connect how Saro came to I was thinking that there's a suspense that will take us back to how Saro landed into that village. I agree. And then he
No,
came
yeah,
there-
no, you are now. No, tell me why you like it. You're talking about the reason why
That's
we
what
don't
I'm
like
saying.
it.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. No, I'm just connecting that.
Yeah, because that one is on my side.
No.
Show us
It's
all the
not
place
on
from my
your
side.
I'm like, I have a right to. I would have been able to balance it as well because.
Okay, no, but I just want you to
think
tell me.
that the
Just tell
storyline,
me why it's good.
Generally, it felt really fresh, and
Okay.
a lot of times, for me, I think with Kunle Afolayan,
Yeah.
Kunle Afolayan is a movie maker who also rolls with other celebrities from the music industry, from
True.
producers from
Right,
TV,
he features
and
them
so on.
sometimes, yeah.
Yeah, so so he has mastered the art of marketing his movies in a
That's
way
I
that
told you, yes. The business
makes
part of it, the man has
exciting.
figured it out.
So I watched it without looking at those. I mean, I saw the what's it called, the shabby face masks and stuff all over the place. What does the man?
Tribal
Marks, yeah. I saw all of that. But for me, somehow, some way, I forgave that part, feeling like, oh, it doesn't matter. Let me just focus on the fact that this guy was the guy from nobody, from nowhere. He came to this village, decided to thrive. He was good looking. I think that was one thing that worked for him. So he was a good looking man.
Yes.
So he became, somebody that the women wanted.
Exactly.
And somehow, some way, he was good at his work, his craft as well. He was an astroke, what's it called, maker.
Yeah.
So, and then he went to the king's palace to serve or give through his connection with his sugar mommy, which was played by Rachel Oniga.
No.
Sorry, not Rachel. Shola Sobawale.
Yeah.
Sorry. And then from there, he didn't even meet the last of the king's wife, the youngest wife. But somehow, some way, I think before he left, and I said it was remaining one more person. Yeah. Now the story didn't show us. I mean, from they didn't show us the interaction, but it showed us later in the night how the queen went to meet, and they have the same storyline about getting to a station or marriages that they did not plan for. The boy was sold off or something. I don't know. I can't remember what happened to him when he was younger, but they were just in circumstances that they could not control at the same time in their young lives. But then again, they now started dating. They now became.
So that's why you like it. You like that whole.
And then the whole
passage.
escape. And then another good part for me was where after they killed him, they now got that power. I thought it was so cool. That he now had that kind of power, and then he had the wife who was supporting him, but he now still.
Yeah, leave it like that. Don't go and tell everybody. Okay, it's fine. But yeah, true.
So it was that whole story thing.
Okay, so good. The thing is, I actually agree. I really liked the idea of like having the powers. That powered bit. I liked that bit. But of course, let me talk about maybe the good things. Of course, I like that bit. And even for me, I think we've struggled a bit over the past in Nollywood, especially, to have characters that are like iconic.
Yes.
Characters that you say the name and people understand what you mean in the context in which you're trying to get at.
Yes.
So I think people like maybe Ahana from way back in Rattlesnake. Maybe that's kind of like maybe might be an iconic character. But I think in recent times the only person we've ever had is Eniola Salami, the King of Boys, which was Shola Sobawale's in what's her name? Kemi Adetiba's King of Boys.
Yes.
That one I think that's an iconic character.
Okay.
Besides that one, I don't think New Nollywood has produced any such thing. But I feel like Saro is on his way there. If Kunle makes a series, as I've heard that Netflix is going to commission him to make a series based on the Anikulapo story, there's almost a certainty that Saro actually, as a character, will become iconic, and it will only be the second time that has happened in New Nollywood, because we've not really had like characters that are like incredibly familiar to everybody, and they know exactly what this thing is. Even on social media, Saro as a name was trending. So I think for me, that's one of the good things that Kunle Afolayan has done with Anikulapo, because I think that every film culture wants or needs iconic characters. So the film for me might not be an excellent film, but it would be really good if Saro as a character became iconic in the film industry, and which for me I think it's a good place for me to stop. For me to
let's quickly round this up. So talking about the bad part, and did you notice the fake sticks they were using to flog?
Yes, now of course.
Okay. So, but now let's look at.
Well, let's talk about the good parts. You are now bringing us to the bad ones.
Quickly before we leave, let's talk about the acting. You just mentioned now that Saro the character might become iconic as time goes on. But let's go at the character Bimbo, Ademoye. I think that's her name. Ademoye, sorry, and Kunle. What do you think about the actor? Generally, not just Bingo and Remy. Remy here. So generally, even with what's her name, Shola Sobawale's acting, just acting generally, I thought it was nice, cool, really cool to see Ogogo as well.
Oh yes, the old Yoruba guys.
Yeah. So what do you think about acting in terms of the actors, the quality of actors that they used to interpret that movie?
Yeah, I think I don't really have bad stuff to say really about the acting. I would have loved for for Kunle Remi's character to have more gravitas. You know, I don't know that would be maybe more. I don't know how that would what will be the physical embodiment of that. You know, somebody who had like this huge presence, other than just being like a fine
guy,
exactly, just being a regular fine guy. You get, but I can't complain too much about the acting. Speaking broadly, I feel like part of the latter part of it were a bit, like I said earlier, staged. You felt like these people were more stage actors than film actors. You know, because of look at the arrangements with the scene, with the king who isn't speaking with his mouthpiece and everything. That whole arrangement feels a little bit too stagey. You know, but the fact is, yeah, I don't think the acting is really bad. This, and like I said, Saru becomes an iconic character, it will mean that Kunle Remi's career from here on is pretty much in a
Are you don't you be
solid
stereotyped into that character?
I think Kunle Remi was already getting stereotyped anyway.
Okay.
This has probably even produced something a little bit different for him.
Okay.
I think he's pretty much being the good-looking guy in a lot of movies he's acted, and I don't think he's really done. I don't know, because I don't know a lot about his stuff outside of the big screen. But I think lots of maybe smaller movies, he's been like this kind of romantic lover boy kind of character. And now that even the marks that they gave him, of course, he's still a good-looking guy within the world that Kunle has created. Kunle Afolayan has created, that is, you know. But still, it feels like his beauty has been dampened a little bit just by the fact that it's in a different setting. It's no longer in the modern world, but it's like back in like ancient Yoruba land, and so a lot of it. So this might actually give him some space to play with something. But more importantly, I think that if they do this series is successful, Kunle Remi's career would have been totally transformed.
Okay, we need to call it quits.
Yes, almost an hour.
We've, in fact, I don't know, but we really tried. I think this one is the last time we tried to struggle between 30 minutes, you know. Yeah. But this one we spoke for. We are going to like almost an hour on this particular. Fantastic, man, guys. I think what's actually more important is if the conversation is nice, and I want to believe that we had a good conversation. So. If you have any comments, if you have any observation, if you have anything you want to say on any of the topics we talked about today, just put it down on the comment section. Subscribe. Subscribe and like this video. So
exactly, and we'll be back.
Be encouraged to do more. So catch you on the next one. It's James Alice.
And it's Oris.
Yeah.